flare-ups within autoimmune conditions. So anybody that's had or has an autoimmune condition or knows somebody with an autoimmune condition will probably be very familiar with the term flare-up. Now, a flare can happen for any reason. It can happen for no reason. Sometimes there are triggers. Sometimes there are no reasons whatsoever. It can just be your body has decided on that day to send signals around your brain and the rest of your body that it's time for a flare and it's time to get you, basically. So it's basically, what is a flare? So a flare-up is where a set of circumstances happen with your body and your autoimmune condition, and your autoimmune condition will say, okay, I am going to create some problems for your body, and those problems might be like the symptoms that you would have every now and then, all exacerbated all at once. So, for example, you could have a trigger of a flare-up from spraining your ankle. You sprain your ankle, of course, that's going to cause a bit of, potential damage in your ankle area in your foot and start make you walking slightly differently. So what your autoimmune condition can do is send the information down to your ankle to start trying to mend it. But with autoimmune conditions, they over-mend. So what it'll do is it'll trigger or potentially trigger other symptoms. So, for example, if your autoimmune condition makes you have headaches, makes you have inflammation in certain areas, whether it causes gut problems, all these sorts of things. It could be literally anything, swelling in, fingers, hands, wrists, your gut, anything basically. And what it will do is it will then get those like triggers. They will overcompensate its own immunity to push. I'm maybe not explaining this very well, but it'll push the immunity level too high basically and overcompensate for what it's actually doing in your body. I'm not sure I've actually kind of explained that very well. So you might get symptoms like, the inflammation, brain fog, fatigue, but it's more brain fog than normal. It's more fatigue than normal. Everything is just blown out of, its own normal context. So with those sorts of things, you've got to look at ways of getting to the other side of the flare-up. Now, with any kind of flare-up, it's not ideal with either plans that you've made. It doesn't care about, what you're doing, what you need to do to get yourself out of the flare-up. It basically takes no prisoners, your body being the prisoner, obviously. And it will shut down potentially parts of your body that you don't want to be shut down. And it causes a lot of not just direct problems with pain, fatigue, brain fog, swelling, inflammation, gut problems, but also indirect issues. So, for example, any kind of social situations you've got going on, cancelling plans, for example, work situations, for example, you might have to phone in sick, with working, if you're not paid like a salary, for example, and you're on an hourly rate or something like that, you might financially have a little bit of trouble then. It has all this impact that a lot of people don't see as well. What happens, I mean, from my experience, when I flare up, I don't leave the house. People just don't see me in that state. So when it's at its worst, no one will ever see it. And I think that gives them almost a false sense of where I am with my ankylosing spondylitis, for example, where they go, "Oh, you're looking well today. Yeah, that's great, but you didn't see the 6 days before leading up to this." It's an example. But excuse me, that's a typical kind of example of how a flare up can actually attack. I think the best way when you're in a flare up to get to the other side is not to push through. Pushing through can make it worse. You can exacerbate the symptoms. You can do all sorts of things that cause problems with the actual with the actual flare up. You can make things a lot worse. So with things like pain, the best way to get rid of the pain is whatever works for you, whether it be painkillers, whether it be very light stretching or very light exercise or something like that. Fatigue, I know it's easy just to say, "Oh, rest up," and rest can help with a lack of sleep, but fatigue is not just a lack of sleep. It's so much more than that. It can be debilitating. So with the fatigue, instead of like challenging it and trying to push through it, fatigue is one of those things where you can go, right, I want to make sure that I have enough energy to be able to do whatever you want during the day or that you're flaring up. So if you've got, significantly less energy that you would normally have on a day, you want to be able to pace yourself so much more so than you would normally. So prioritizing is essential. Now, prioritizing is quite straightforward. It's not going to say easy. It's relatively straightforward. Depends on who you are and what you're going through. But when you add a flare up to that and brain fog to that, your prioritization, it's like you can't concentrate properly on what you need to do, how you need to do it, what order you need to do it in. Everything just goes kind of out the window. So it brings me on to the next point is when you are in a flare up, share that you're in with a flare up. So for example, if you've got someone, whether it be a partner, a mum, kids, whatever, brothers, sisters, or friends that can help you out, then I think reaching out is a massive, massive thing that you can do, and it really, really does help. So even if it's like not actually helping, they can help in a way, not actually doing things, but actually helping you with prioritizing. So for example, you can say, "Okay, I need your help today." "Okay, what's up?" You say, "I've got 10 things to do." Right. They can help you prioritize those 10 things, not just do them for you, for example. And that's where other people can step in and really, really help you through a flare up. Now, if you haven't got anybody like that, then unfortunately, you do have to look at things, and it may take you longer to get through those priorities rather, because you can't see effectively the wood from the trees. So hang on a second, let me just get rid of that. So there is, for example, sorry, that put me off my train of thought there. I had a little flash up notification. Oh, hi, Ronald Casas, how you doing? Thank you for watching. Ask for help when you need help. If you can't ask for help or there's no one to help you, then it's worth noting that a flare-up may take longer. If you've got a whole bunch of stuff to have to do, you still have to exist, you still have to live, but it just might take longer, and that flare-up might just take a little bit longer. So with reaching out, it can really help you if you've got someone there. In terms of other ways to help you alongside your flare-up, don't fight it. Fighting is probably a way to sort of push your back. It's fighting against something while you're flaring up, even if you're fighting against the flare-up, is only going to cause that flare-up to get even worse. So the best thing to do is work alongside it. Just take it easy. Rest where you need to. Take your medication where you need to. If you need to stay in bed for, an extra few hours, stay in bed for an extra few hours. If you need to take time out, just take time out. It's your health at the end of the day, and your health is very, very important. It's everything. Without it, what have you got? Nothing much else. And living through an autoimmune condition is hard enough as it is, without having a flare up on top of that to just take the wind out of your sails. So once you've kind of tried, rest, medication, more rest, and asking for help, there's other things that you can do to just find things that you can relax to. So, for example, if you have pets, pets have been proven to be excellent, like buddies when something's going wrong. They can sense that there's something wrong quite a lot of the time. And, cats are lovely to look at and whatnot, I think, in my personal opinion. But they can be, they do things of their own accord. They probably don't care. Dogs, on the other hand, they have definitely got that sort of caring ability about them. And that's absolutely fantastic from their perspective. So, sort of an animal might help, a pet, not just like an animal like a cow or something. That's not going to help much. Might be funny, but there we go. But if you find something that is your own coping mechanism, then use that. Absolutely. So over a period of time, if you're going in and out of flare-ups, you'll find certain ways to cope. And these are your coping mechanisms. And they can be anything, but they'll be specific to you. And then there'll be some that are, quite well known, for example. So for me, one of my coping mechanisms is that I try and use humor to kind of, I kind of mock myself about the way that I am and the conditions that I have, and so on and so forth. So if I'm having a conversation with someone directly, I'm the first one to kind of try and break the ice with, saying something a bit daft, a bit silly to kind of get things, just get myself through things. Yeah, laughter is the best medicine, as they say. So, whether it be watching something funny, listening to a funny podcast, whatever, all those sorts of things can help. Now, once you're on the other side of the flare up, I think it's worth noting, like, almost keep a sort of mental diary of what you did to help you come out of it. So if that was, medication, whether it was the rest, whether it was sleep, whether it was exercise, light exercise, whatever it was, basically keep that in your mind so that next time there is a flare up, because there's always going to be a next time with flares. How to basically treat yourself and get through what you need to get through to be back to your normal self. And that's kind of where you can then move forward with your flare-ups and try and cut them down in terms of their level of pain, their level of symptoms, and their length as well. Flares can go from, a couple of hours or a day to several months. And they're not good to have to go through them all that time. Your body is constantly fighting against something. It's not good for your body, long term at all. It's not great, short time either. But just keep an eye out on the signals that, like, in an early stage of a flare up as well. So if you can see that something's building, bang, use your previous knowledge of your old flare up and apply that. And when you apply those, you can then try and reduce the severity of your flare up, reduce the length of time that your flare up occurs. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask you, anybody that's actually watching at the moment, are you struggling with a flare up at the moment? Have you had flare ups recently? Are there any issues you've had with struggling with not knowing what you need to do to get through that flare up, or what other sort of things? Anything like, have you seen, okay, this works really, really well, and I want to share that because that's vital information. Really works for me. I want other people to know about that. If so, pop a little comment down below. But obviously I wish that everybody's healthy and don't go through the flare-ups at all. And that would be ideal, really. But I know these things happen. And like I said at the beginning, sometimes they happen for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Sometimes you're not in control of why a flare-up might occur. And it can be specific to, say, a person or a place. So in that situation, you can try and cut down on going to that place or not going at all, or cutting down on seeing that person or not see them at all. I know that there's some people don't see eye to eye. It's just one of those things. People are wired up differently, and if that's the case, then just try and, I guess, stay away if you think you're about to hit a flare up. If you're not about to hit a flare up, probably stay away from them anyway. But your triggers are really, really important. So it's worth making a mental note of what your triggers are, so you know how to kind of step away from those to make sure that your flare-ups are significantly reduced, and also knowing how to get through or help reduce the level of the flare-up once you're in it, so that you can be back to normal self, as normal is, as soon as you can, basically. So it's one of those things that we all have to face at some point, but I hope that you don't face it soon or at all, basically. And with that, I shall bid you farewell. Thank you for joining. It's only been a 20-minute one, this one. Just thought I'd just pop on and talk about flare-ups just briefly and whatnot. And until next time, I shall see you soon. So thank you for joining. Bye-bye.